Good morning, everybody. Sunday, Fall Like an Eagle podcast. Strange day for us to do a show today. It was a wacky week this week. We had Thanksgiving, we had Black Friday, we had the Jake Paul fight yesterday. That's obviously a joke. But yeah, we're here to discuss the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Seattle Seahawks and our score predictions. Now, I'm going to give this right to Zach because I'm not even going to lie to you. I had a fun night last night. I woke up early this morning. Need to go to the gym after this podcast. But we're here for you. We're here for about 20, 25 minutes. And Zachy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving, safe Thanksgiving. No drinking and driving, obviously. Black Friday was fun. I think we had another record for online sales for Black Friday. So that's just the way that this world's been going, and Amazon Prime's taking over. But enough about that stuff. Let's get into the game. So for the
Zach, as for sales, I finally got my gym.
Oh, you finally got it.
Finally got it. So hopefully that brings us luck. But sorry for cutting you off.
No, you're good. So for the 10th time in 11 games, we're going to have a different starting offensive line. That's the most in the league, and that's the most since like 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely playing a factor in it. We're going against a Seattle team that doesn't produce a very good pass rush. So that's the good news for the Philadelphia Eagles. The bad news is that Russell Wilson plays quarterback for the Seahawks, and we haven't won in Philadelphia against the Seahawks since, you see it right there in my name, 1989 was the last time. So that just shows you a little bit. The last time we beat the Seahawks was in 2008 with Donovan McNabb being our starting quarterback. So that just shows you a little bit of the struggle we've had against the Seahawks. For Carson Wentz, I know we're not going to talk much about Carson Wentz, but if there was a game to get back on track, this is a game that he should be able to get back on track. I doubt it happens, but you're going against the worst pass defense, that gives up almost 350 yards a game. And then you're going against a Russell Wilson team where they're leaning on him heavily. So they're a passing offense now, and they're trying to get back to the run game, but it's going to be a lot of passing in this game because Seattle has one of the stingiest run defenses in the league. So I don't know if Miles Sanders is going to be able to get going or whether Doug wants him to get going because we've seen him abandon the run time and time again. So for me, this is going to be a good game. We need Carson Wentz. We need Carson Wentz to be Carson Wentz, not this year, but of previous years, because we need him to get out of this funk, or we need Jalen to step in and do Jalen things. And I think if Jalen does step in, because everybody's talking about those first team practices, it's either one, to light a fire under Carson's ass to say, hey, you could very well lose this job, or two, because they think that, him coming in adds that dimension where it's just going to freeze the defense enough where he can make a couple of plays till they catch up. But I don't think of it as a realistic change, at least at this time and in this moment.
Well, if they're not going to change from Carson Wentz to Jalen Hurts, they should not put Jalen Hurts in at all, personally, because all they do are the same designs every single play, wildcat offense, option plays. It doesn't work. If they're not going to have him throw the ball consistently, everyone knows what's coming. So if you're not placing with Carson Wentz, I don't want to see him on the field at all, honestly. I want him to be banished to a bench, like the bench in the locker room. Like, I don't even want him to be on the field, because it fucks up the whole process. With that said, I would not be shocked if this was the best game that we've seen out of Carson Wentz in a long time, because he has the pressure in his head, in the back of his mind. He wants to get this fan base back into his good graces. I know a lot of people say the players don't care about the fans. They don't listen to what the fans say. That's bullshit. Like, these players understand. They care what the fans say. If they didn't, he'd be playing perfect right now. It's definitely fire over his head and rains and clouds. But honestly, I just feel like Carson Wentz finally plays well this game. There are no fans in the stands. And from what you just said, the Seattle Seahawks defense really isn't that great this year. This is the one game to where if you need points on the board, this is the game. We're at home, no fans, go back and forth against a team that you never beat. And it's funny because the Vegas line is +5 for the Philadelphia Eagles, and only 5% of the bet in public is on that +5. I was telling my friend, wouldn't it be a wacky year if we lost to the Browns and Giants and beat the Seattle Seahawks? That would be the wackiest year of all time. Now, I know what you're saying. It's probably going to be a blowout on paper, which it should be. But I've seen crazier shit happen before. I'm not going to say it's going to be a win. I'm just not going to say that because I'm not that dumb. But I will say it'll be a close game. I will say that because I feel like going back and forth on Monday Night Football, we never beat the Seahawks. We're going to be up for this game. We have to win this game to stay in the NFC East race because everyone else is winning. This is the game we have to have. They're going to play up for their coach that said he wouldn't be unhappy if he got fired. That was a quote yesterday. And I could see a very close game, Zach. I really could, believe it or not.
Everything points to it being able to be a close game because the offensive line for Seattle isn't very good. And we have one of the best defensive line fronts in all of the NFL. So if we can continue to get pressure and drive home, because other than Carson being sacked 40 times, you know who the second most sacked quarterback is? Russell Wilson at 33 times. So for us, it's playing into our strengths, but that doesn't mean anything with the way the Eagles have been playing this year. But for on paper, if you look at the strengths versus strengths and strengths versus weaknesses, then I think you see that the Eagles have a shot in this game. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to quarterback play. And Russell Wilson, when called upon, has been playing outstanding at times, especially when called upon late in games.
Well, let's look at their bright sides compared to our weaknesses. At wide receiver, they have two studs at wide receiver, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf.
Yep.
On our side of the ball, we have Jalen Reagor, Travis Fulgham, Dallas Goedert, and Zach Ertz was just ruled out for this game. So they definitely have the advantage when it comes to the wide receiver position. Now, what is key in this game is our defensive line getting to Russell Wilson. Because if our defensive line could get to Russell Wilson, I feel like we could actually win this game because that's all that matters. Because if you take time away from Russell Wilson, yeah, he scrambles around, he makes these razzle-dazzle plays. I understand that. But our defensive line has so much money tied into it that these players are all dynamic or should be dynamic. So these players should be getting up the line, busting his ass every single play. If they could get to him, I feel like if we score enough points, well, obviously if we score enough points, like we're going to be in it. But if we score like maybe 27 points and we get to him all night, I think we win, Zach. Like I truly do. It all depends on our defensive line. It really does. Because our linebackers, if our defensive line gives Russell Wilson credit, you have no shot. No shot whatsoever. Because our linebackers suck. I've said for years, if you don't have linebackers, you can't stop a mobile quarterback to save your life. You just cannot. And that's been our weakness for years. Aaron Rodgers, weakness. We didn't beat him till last year, and that was a fluke play. So, yeah, Zach, I don't know. It's going to be a tricky one. But what do you think? What's your game plan? Like, what do you think we honestly have to do to win this game? I know you brought up some big points, but what's your ultimate X factor going into this game?
Well, I think the X factor has to be keep Russell Wilson inside the pocket, get pressure on him. And Russell's been prone to turnovers as well. I know we talk a lot about Wentz and his turnovers. Russell has thrown 10 interceptions on this year. You know why? Because they're letting Russ cook. You know why they're letting Russ cook? Because that defense is getting cooked, so they need to let Russ cook. Last week, you saw them lean on the run game a lot more for Seattle. I think you're going to see a lot more of that this week. You're going to see Chris Carson's back. Carlos Hyde has been playing at a decent level. So if we can stop those guys, I know this sounds crazy, but you get the ball in Russell Wilson's hands early and try to force him to make plays. But the issue is we haven't been able to get out the leads and put us in that situation where our pass rush can go get after quarterbacks. Because if they're able to run the ball all day, all game, because we're not ahead by 7 or 14 points, we're not trying to take them out of their game plan, which we haven't been able to do at all this year, then it basically neutralizes what we do on the defensive line. And although we bottled up 2 of the best running backs in the league last week, you can't expect that every single week, week in and week out. And I think Chris Carson's and Carlos Hyde add a different dimension to the Seattle team. And I think they're going to lean on Russell Wilson just enough, especially when it comes to the fourth quarter. But they're really going to try to play a solid game plan where they even out the running and passing game and try to take away our strengths in the pass defense. So
Russell Wilson's going to throw the ball 40 times. I don't see how they run the ball at all, to be honest with you. I mean, they ran it last week. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt ran it last week. if those two running backs couldn't really get anything going the whole game, I don't know how you're going to get Chris Carson or Carlos Hyde to get anything going. So they're going to throw the ball a lot this game. I mean, in hindsight, the way our defense has been playing this year, the Browns should have scored a lot more points last week. Now, they only scored 22 points, and it was all situational football. So, honestly, they're not going to pound the rock. And going into the past history, playing against us with no linebacking core, they're going to have a field day. Russell Wilson's going to run all over us in hindsight, and they're going to throw all over us. That's just how I see it. And if you get to them, you win this game. I know I'm crazy saying that based off us being 3-6-1 and based off how the season's been going, but it's not out of reach. Like, it's not. If all of our money on the defensive line plays their game and plays that one perfect game, I mean, it's not like 9 out of 9 times they're going to beat us. There's always that one time. Remember when we went up to Foxborough and we beat the Patriots when we absolutely sucked? That has that type of feel to this game. We were 10-point underdogs in that game. I actually went. Sam Bradford went up to Foxborough and beat them. Zach, you might call me crazy. I think this is a game we can actually win. And, I'm going to do this right here, right now. Only on Fly Like an Eagle podcast, you're going to hear me say something crazy like this. Eagles win this game because I said 27 points. Eagles win this game 27-20.
Oof. Okay. All right. I think for the defense, we need to maintain gap control. I think Alex Singleton and TJ Edwards did a good job of doing that last week. The mobile quarterback obviously adds another dimension. But once again, gap control, gap control, gap control. I say this every single week. Communication, and don't go chasing plays, go make plays. And I think Alex Singleton and TJ Edwards have done a good enough job over the last couple of weeks, especially with Nate Gary being out. But gap control is the number one concern. We've seen it against the Giants with Daniel Jones, where they were shooting gaps and it was the wrong gaps. Stay your gap. Stay where you need to. Stay your lane. Don't swerve to another lane to try to go make a big play. Just let it come to you. And then on the offensive side of the ball, let's try to get this run game going against a stout run defense. And let's see if we can finally get our quarterback and wide receiver on the same page. Whether it's Carson Wentz, whether it's Jalen Hurts, I really don't care. As long as we win the game, we need our wide receivers and our quarterback on the same page. And you haven't seen that at all this year.
Yeah, we have the talent. We don't have the talent at the wide receiver position. I mean, did Travis Fulgham ball out or did he not ball out the first 4 games he played in? He has the talent to play. Plus, we have Jalen Reagor there. We have Dallas Goedert there, who's been an absolute stiff so far. I can't believe I backed this guy. This guy's been a complete stiff. And we need these guys to show up. And if they do show up on Monday night in the bright lights, I think they can win. I truly do. They just they have to have that perfect game. Carson needs to step up and be a man. Everyone says, walking past the statue every single day is the reason why he's not playing right. Do you guys understand that the statue is located at the front of the stadium? He walks to NovaCare, all right? NovaCare is on the completely other side of the spectrum. So when people say that, it's like, do you even watch this team? Do you even know what they're about? That's just funny to me. Whatever. But yeah, Zach, what's your score?
I think the defense shows up today. I think we hold this team into check a little bit. I'm going to say 27-23 Seahawks.
So you got a close game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those blind squirrel finds a nut eventually for us because we haven't beaten the Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson. So I just feel like it's one of those games where we have to win it. And I'm not saying we're going to beat Green Bay and the Saints or either or. I'm just saying this is one game and this is one moment where I feel like we do show up and we finally beat this team. I do. I do. A lot of people are going to call me crazy. What?
I will say, if we want to go anywhere in a terrible NFC East and host a playoff game, if that's what Eagle fans still want, we got to have all 3 phases because we bash Carson Wentz day in, day out, every single time on this podcast. Kyle's been one of the biggest bashers, and, I've been very critical of him as well because he's been playing terrible. But let's not forget, the defensive line has been bad. The offensive line's been bad. The wide receivers aren't on the same page. And special teams. Special teams, for some reason, has not gotten enough notice of how poorly they are playing, letting balls go behind them when they're not supposed to, not fair catching when they need to. It's just been abysmal in all three phases of the game, and I think that goes under the radar. We need to play solid three-phase football in order to get this back on track. And the Eagles like to play with their back against the wall. Well, guess what? It starts now. It starts now. You have 5 more games or whatever it may be, 6 more games, whatever. I think it's 5 more games, whatever. I can't think of off the top of my head. You need to start now. And you're going against some good teams. You have one of the hardest schedules remaining. I think it's top 7, top 8 hardest remaining schedules. And then you finish off with the Washington football team and the Dallas Cowboys in a situation where you may lose those other 4 games, and then you go again, those 2 teams in the NFC East, and you win, and you're into the playoffs. And when you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. Tom Brady, if they're going against the Philadelphia Eagles in Lincoln Financial Field, never say never. Never say never. It's Robin season. Put it that way.
Yeah, we well, I'm going against the Cowboys at Lincoln Financial Field already. I think that's the game you were bringing up. But never say never, like you just said. This is definitely one of those games where you expect us to lose, but at the same time, we're in some whack ass division right now. If we were 3-6-1 any other year, we would be packing it in. We'd be benching players. We'd be firing coaches. But this year's just so wacky, And I'm going to defend Carson Wentz a little bit, because everyone's bashing him. I've been bashing him for 2.5 years. I'm going to try to take some positivity out of the situation.
Okay.
And Carson Wentz is that type of quarterback to where he needed OTAs. He needed a preseason, at least to get some rhythm in, all right? He didn't have any of that because of COVID. He just had a kid. He's probably worried about his kid 24/7. His wife at home, like all this coronavirus going in there. He's a Christian man, so he loves the Lord, So it's like he has a lot of things at the back of his mind right now. And his offensive line not playing for him, it's adding on top to all the bullshit. So it would be interesting for them an offensive tackle in the draft if they did fall that far. Like they got Oregon. Like how I love Pac-12 offensive linemen. I really hate him. But supposedly he's like a top prospect in the last 10 years. So if we're going to do anything for Carson Wentz this offseason, because we're not going to trade him, I would get an offensive tackle. I truly would.
I agree.
It's longevity for Carson Wentz, and you need to protect him, because this year was anything but. Like, you could say that he did turn the ball over a lot. I understand that, but I'm actually going to side with Zomp here. I'm going to side with Zomp on this one. He was getting hit play after play. And at some point, I do have to defend the guy, and this is one of those circumstances. And I'm ready to give him another shot next year. Now, we are still in it. We still can go to the playoffs. I understand that. I really want to out. I'm not going to lie to you. I do see tomorrow's game. I don't know, Zach. Hey, what year is it? 2020 when I'm defending Carson Wentz.
Oh, my God. That's the epitome of this year where we go. Nate Robinson gets knocked out. We have Kyle Mager literally defending Carson Wentz. So that's the kind of year that we're doing. What would you say would be a successful season? Like, at this point, we're 3-6-1. We got 6 games left. Do you want to make the playoffs? Do you want the 8th overall pick? Or what to you would be successful? For me, at this point, I kind of want to win the NFC East. I want to host a playoff game. I want to see Carson turn it around. I want to see Carson play decent in this playoff game, get him some experience, get this team some experience. A lot of these guys haven't played in the playoffs yet, like Jalen Reagor, obviously, because he's a rookie. And let's get him some experience and hope that momentum carries into next year. Like, hey, we started off slow, but look how we can go when we're all continuity and all gelled together and play at our best level. But obviously that has to start with the turnaround from the whole team, not just Carson, not just Doug. The whole team needs to turn it around and play better. I'm kind of curious what we're doing with this offensive line, and we'll get into that after you answer what you think would be a successful season. What are you looking for?
Well, I'm going to one of my favorites of all time, Mr. Derek Jeter of the New York Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not win the whole thing, that means the Super Bowl. It's not a successful season
Okay.
because you're losing. No matter what, you're losing. So to me, being a successful season would to win the Super Bowl, and we're not going to win the Super Bowl. So the season is definitely a failure, 100%. Going into the season, COVID or not, everyone thought that. Well, I didn't. I thought we were going to be a 7-9 football team, and I think we're going to be worse now. But going into the season, everybody thought that this team was talented, even though we didn't have a linebacking core. Now, with that said, successful. What do you mean by successful? Like, did you think going into this year? Because I forget. Did you think going into this year we had a shot to win the Super Bowl, or did you think we were just going to make the playoffs? I kind of forget.
I was on the border of 9-7, 10-6 at the best. That was what I was talking about right before the season. That was immediately after the draft. I was thinking that for this Philadelphia Eagles team because I thought our holes were going to show. We've been dealing with injuries. I thought injuries were just going to continue to pile up like they have since 2016. Really, everybody forgets that we had a lot of injuries in 2017 as well. We just had the depth to overcome it, and we hit on our 1-year deals that year as opposed to other years. So, yeah, I thought 9-7, 10-6. But going forward, what would I like to see successfully wise would be I would like to see this team turn it around, win the NFC East, even if it's at 5-11-1 or whatever, host a playoff game. And let's see if we can play a decent game in the playoffs and make us feel hopeful as Eagle fans, a little hopeful. Like, yeah, we're 5-11-1, but we turned it around in the last 6 games, and we were able to host a playoff game, and we were within a score of winning, or whatever the case may be. But that's just me being an Eagles fan, wanting to feel that hope again.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. That's me too. When I was growing up in middle school, high school, I always wanted to go to the playoffs, even if we weren't in the best position, because you have to wait that 9 months to see your play again. And it sucks. That layoff is terrible. So it's definitely in the back of your mind. You definitely want to get to the playoffs, see what you got, because if you're in the dance, you have a shot. I understand that. But you're also shying away from the fact that we could potentially get a top 5 pick. This division's that bad. And whoever doesn't win this division, they're going to be easily in the top 8 because the records are that bad. So I saw Giants fans saying, oh, let's just get to the playoffs. We haven't won in a while. That is the definition of being a bad fan base because right now they should be going after that top 5 pick. They're nowhere close to done rebuilding. Nowhere close. Daniel Jones, we still don't know what he is. Saquon Barkley, he has a torn ACL. Who knows if he's ever going to be the same. Offensive line absolutely stinks, even though they've been playing better. Their defense is okay. They have a couple bright spots. But right now, do you see anything on the Giants that tells you next year they're going to be a whole lot better if they get the 18th pick opposed to a top 5 pick? So it's like, if you're a Giants fan, like, what are you thinking? But as an Eagles fan, I feel like if we got to the playoffs this year, it wouldn't be a Debbie Downer because, like I said earlier, our window is kind of closing. Kind of have to have that killer instinct going into the playoffs if we were to make it. I don't think this is a team that could rebound, even if Zach Ertz came back and Brandon Brooks came back in the nick of time.
Now, what are we doing with this offensive line? The fact that we finally decide to switch over Jason Peters from left tackle to right guard, what we brought him in to do. We finally switch him back, and then, hey, guess what? Lane Johnson's out for the year. So, then we're like, okay, we're going to put Matt Pryor, a known guard, at right tackle instead of Jack Driscoll that has held his own in his 2 starts. So I don't know what we're doing. Jack Driscoll is a better tackle than a guard, and Matt Pryor is a better guard than a tackle, but yet we're going to start Matt Pryor at right tackle. I don't understand what's going on. For this team, the best thing would be Jason Peters has that toe injury. Guess what? Sit out, put Matt Pryor at right guard, put Driscoll at right tackle. Let's grow this youth and see what we have for this offensive line, see where we need to add pieces and move forward next year where, we know, all right, we need a left tackle, we need a right tackle, we need whatever. We need a new center. Is the foreign prospect going to be anybody or whatever?
Right.
I can't even say his name. I'm not even going to attempt it.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of people in the comment section are talking about the Tyson fight last night, and I'll compare the Eagles season to that fight card. I must say, all right, because I watched that whole thing. I was one of those dumbasses that actually bought it, and I will say this for anyone new that's watching the sport of boxing, this is why it's a dying breed. There is no fucking way that fight was a draw last night. No way. I was watching that whole thing into the final eighth and final round. Mike Tyson was a minus 5,000 to win that fight. How the fuck was that a draw? Like, that's why boxing's dying. I know I got off topic there, but a lot of people are talking about it, so I just can't get that out of my head. Mike Tyson.
Who did you think won?
Who do I think won? Oh, Mike Tyson. I bet on Roy Jones, and I thought Tyson won.
I think Roy Jones. That's the funny thing. Roy Jones Jr. stopped boxing a couple of years ago, and Mike Tyson stopped boxing over a decade ago. But that just shows you Iron Mike. I grew up on Iron Mike. When he was mentally strong, he was one of the best boxers in the world at his cream of his crop, in his prime. And he showed it again, like just the strength that he had on those body shots. Even Roy Jones was like, I need an ice bath as soon as this interview's over. I'm ready to go. But I can't believe they rooted a draw. Do you think it's because they wanted another exhibition fight between these two, possibly?
Well, I read up into it after the fight, and they ruled it a draw because I think going into the fight, they weren't going to declare a winner no matter what. But in hindsight, like if you were to bet on it, I guess you thought that he won. But that kind of sucks for anyone that actually put real money on it if they didn't read up into it before. Because the line was just Fugazi. It was a mirage at that point. The only people that succeeded off of that line were the bookmakers that had a three-way line. Had a draw, Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. Those are the only bookmakers that actually made something off of it. And those people are going to be pissed after they read up into that it was going to be a draw no matter what.
They changed the rules like literally right before the night of the fight. So, it was going to be, all right, we're not going to have refs. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. It's strictly an exhibition fight. Then all of a sudden you had all this other stuff going into it. Then you can have knockdowns and knockouts and blah, blah, blah. I think they just wanted a good, clean sparring match without the sparring gear.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. That was actually the first time I really ever watched Mike Tyson fight, like live. Because last time he fought in 2005, I wasn't really in the sport of boxing, and he was like at the end of his career anyway. Yep. So just his footwork, his presence, back then when he was like 30, 25, like he's a scary fucking build for a guy. Like it's like someone that could actually like kill you. You know what I'm saying? I was watching some of his old highlights of him walking into the arena with like chain sirens going off, and like he's a scary dude, man.
Oh yeah, he was definitely cream of the crop back when we had to actually go to like Time Warner Cable and buy a pay-per-view box, bring it home, plug it into the TV is when I remember watching him, and he was explosive as all hell. In his prime, there was really nobody that can touch him. The only reason he lost to Evander Holyfield is because he fought a guy that had immense amount of reach on him. It was kind of a bad pick, a bad drawing by him, and that's why he ultimately lost.
Well, he lost the second one because he bit him in the ear. So
I don't know. A lot of money on that fight.
You did?
Yeah, because I picked Mike Tyson losing. I bet against Mike Tyson.
Oh, wow.
My better judgment told me not to, but I liked it.
Did you just see this before we end up doing it because it's a quick show? Did you see what happened on ESPN right now?
I'm watching news.
The Saints got fined $500,000 and lost a 7-round pick because of a maskless celebration.
They're not playing around. The NFL is trying to squeeze every single game in a 17-week season. They refuse to do this 18-week unless they absolutely have to. The fact that the Ravens and Steelers are still projected to kick off on Tuesday is asinine to me, because now you got guys on the Steelers roster testing positive for COVID as well. And, they're just doing their best to not let it unravel and kind of force feed the game on Tuesday no matter what. And it's unfortunate for the Ravens because they've underperformed this year, and, a loss could set them back heavily, especially against the Steelers.
No, I agree. I actually have to give a round of applause to the NFL thus far, because bouncing from city to city and making all this work. Like, who's going to say no to a Tuesday night football game if you're a person at home just watching the games? Like, who's going to say no? You know, I think they're awesome. But I think they've done a tremendous job. NFL rules over everything, and it's proven it time in and time out. And Tuesday night football games, yeah, fuck yeah. Give me a Wednesday night football game too. I know college basketball just came back, but I take NFL over college basketball any day of the week besides March Madness.
But the only thing that sucks is now it takes away from our Thursday night game because the Thursday night game got moved as well.
Yep, absolutely.
So, with Jake Paul being a YouTube sensation and a fighter, when's your next fight?
Okay, so obviously I have to go back to the gym because I've kind of been lazy. But yeah, I've always wanted to get into a scrap with some YouTuber because, you know, obviously I'm one of those shit talkers and I've ran into a lot of those in my day. I'd fight Jake Paul. I truly would, you know, because Jake Paul is one of those fighters to where you're like, oh, he knocked out Nate Robinson. He's lying on the canvas. Well, the thing about Jake Paul is, you know, he's still an amateur. He's not a professional. He's an amateur, and his footwork is terrible, absolutely terrible. Now, if I dropped 30, 40 pounds, I could get into shape. I could get into fighting shape and fight him easily, you know. But that's just me. I mean, he's not going to see this and be like, oh, I'm going to fight this dude that's talking shit about me. No, I'm being honest with you. I've practiced boxing for 2 years. I've practiced my footwork, my speed, my strikes. I've practiced everything. I've sparred people. Jake Paul sucks, like literally sucks. But I knew he was going up against the Nate Robinson. Everyone's like, oh, he's fighting an athlete, so he's going to lose. No. Boxing is a sweet science. Either you have it or you don't. You can't just be an athlete and box. It just doesn't go that way.
You got to put it to work.
You need hand-eye coordination. You need quickness with your strikes. You need to be quick on your feet. You can't bum rush somebody because you're going to get knocked the fuck out, as we saw with Nate Robinson. Yep. It's a patient sport. And a lot of people aren't patient enough to box. They're not.
Also, cardio. Cardio plays a big part in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, without cardio, you have nothing in the sport of boxing. You know, even the heavyweights. There was Stavern versus Wilder a couple of years back. Stavern was talking shit. He was like, I'm going to end your life, blah, blah, blah. He got stopped in the first round because he was a fat fucking pig. And he got knocked over again and again and again. It was embarrassing. Before we go, we got a 199 super chat from Jake Reynolds. Thanks, Jake. Is it wrong to want the Eagles to lose? I mean, as a fan, yes. But as a person that wants to see the team succeed down the road, no. No, it's not wrong, in my opinion. But yeah, thanks for the super chat. But yeah, wrapping up the whole boxing thing, I want to see Zach get in the ring. I want to see what he's got.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I've done it in the basement. We've had some basement boxing matches when we had sleepovers back in the day when I was in high school. It was fun, but nothing that I would get too serious into because I don't train it. I don't have the cardio, and I'm a little bit overweight in my terms, my standards. I'm about 200 pounds, 5'6". You know, a lot of people say I don't look 200 pounds, but I'm 200 pounds. So
you can always lose weight.
Why? You want to go toe to toe?
Yeah. Boom! Right there.
I would go me and you only with sparring gear on because obviously I have work, I have stuff to take care of. I can't get too injured for a YouTube sensation boxing match.
Hey, I'd never back down, you know me, but no, you're my boy. But yeah, someone was like, oh, how about you versus Zomp? I would fight Zomp any day of the week. Any day of the week. Oh my god.
I think me and you would be a little bit of a better matchup. We're about the same size, same weight. You know, yeah. I think
I would love to get in a ring with Zomp. It's so bad. But, you know, maybe one day. We'll see for charity. Who knows? All right, with that said, we're going to get out of here. It's still early. I have to go to the gym. I woke up mad early for this. And I think we actually did a pretty good job with what we had and what we had to work with, buddy.
Well, I just want to say shout out to Sarah Fuller, I believe her name is.
Yeah, first kick.
Vanderbilt, you know. Nice little squib kick, but hey, you know, that's just the start of history. Maybe she gets in next week and actually attempts a field goal if that offense can get her in field goal range. But that was nice to see, and shout out to the women that, hey, we can all do whatever we want to do if you just put your mind to it. Doesn't matter if you're a female or not a female. You put your mind to something, let your dreams become realities. Go fight for it.
To be fair, the ball didn't really go that far, but I will give her respect for getting in that game. I think Vanderbilt is 0-8. She's the first women kicker ever in a Power 5, so I gotta get.
What are you going to lose? That's basically what it was. What are you going to lose? Let's put her in there. But still, for everyone out there, kid, male, female, doesn't matter. Fight for your dreams. Go achieve it. Stop dreaming about it. Wake up and go get it.
Now's the time where you could do anything with your life. The world's changing. Like if you're not in that perfect situation, like as a straight person, as a transgender, as a woman, or an animal, all right, you can do whatever you want with your life right now because 2020 it's set up perfectly for those people that didn't have a shot before. It's the perfect time. So like Zach said, let your dreams come to fruition. That's
I just wanted to leave off with that little inspirational touch because the Philadelphia Eagles are not inspiring me to do anything right now.
No. Philadelphia Eagles are definitely not inspiring anyone to do anything. I mean, Philadelphia literally locked down all bars, diners, everything. Like, nobody has life out there. I don't understand how people still live there, but it is what it is. Love my teams. City's kind of trash, but it is what it is. With that said, we're out of here. Zach's got to get back to work. I got to go to the gym. I will be back here for a live stream tomorrow night for the Seattle Seahawks versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll be doing a show right after the game. I don't know about Zach. I don't know what he's doing, but I won't have to set up anything. I'll be here the whole time, so maybe he'll hop on for like 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll talk about us beating the Seattle Seahawks tomorrow. All right. Peace, guys. We're out. Bye.